Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Netflix's new action thriller, Gunpowder Milkshake. And this is from writer-director Novat Papashado, who the only thing I recognize from his directing was ABCs of Death, I think, too. So, not really familiar for a lot of body of work, but here, basically, in that post-John Wick world, we get all of these interlocking criminal undergrounds with style and mythology and badass people just laying waste to plenty of unexpected henchmen. And we have the John Wick trilogy, which we're going to be getting the fourth one. And you had Atomic Blonde, which was a little bit more of like an espionage type of film, but like the same action, and everybody just thought it was female John Wick. And, you know, Hotel Artemis had the same basic kind of feel, and all these different kinds of films, and this time, all women. Sold, right? And this is written and directed by a man, so I'm like, okay. And this film just feels like, what if you just exchanged men with the women and maybe thrown in a little bit of like a mother-daughter connection and a little bit of like a pseudo mother-daughter connection that builds, and a sorority kind of sisterhood of all of these female assassins, and there you go, it's feminist, right? And even the villain towards the end of the film has a little things like, I've always considered myself a feminist. And it's just like, okay, on the nose here. But if you take a step back and really think about this film, right off the bat you have those like neon credits setting up the style of the film, which this film has plenty of style. It has an awesome look to it, a very vintage look. You have a vintage diner. You have this old school looking library that's a big focal point of the film, which has one of the biggest action set pieces, and it has an awesome look. Production design, costume design, hair, makeup, just the lighting, the cinematography, everything comes together. This movie looks cool. So right off the bat, we got that. And you get a tough person intro that mess up a whole lot of people. It's like sewing her own wounds shut, and Karen Gillan right off the bat set up as like this cool action hero, and she's steely, she's intense, she's tough. They do some fun things with her, like at one point something is done to her to make her lose use of some of her limbs, and like all the crazy creative things they could think of with that. Karen Gillan really sells it all. And then you have the rest of this cast, where you have Lena Headey, who plays her mother, who's set up at the beginning and of course comes back later in the film. She's a badass too. I love Lena Headey. She's great. Then you have this group of librarians with Carla Gugino, Angela Bassett, and Michelle Yeoh, and they're fantastic. They each have their little bit of thing. Like Carla Gugino's like the more prim and proper, sweet librarian. Michelle Yeoh's like, they obviously hint at this relationship between Gugino and Yeoh, and Yeoh's more of like this silent type, and Angela Bass is like in your face cursing at you one, and it's a fun group of people. You have Paul Giamatti, who's a slimy businessman. You have Ralph Ineson with his like deep booming voice as your villain, and the little girl from My Spy, who is Chloe Coleman, who winds up being this little girl who Karen Gillan she's meant to kill her father, but tries to save him, but now she's kind of this little girl's ward, and that's the story, and she killed the wrong, like, gangster's son, Ralph Ineson's son, and, you know, whole bunch of people after a whole bunch of people in this film, and it gets convoluted and big and bold, and there you go. Paul Giamatti is a nice exposition dump kind of character. He does it in a fine way. Ralph Ineson's just intimidating with his deep bellowing voice. It has that kind of John Wick inventive kind of world. And, you know, it has some moral dilemmas thrown in to add some drama and these long-lost relationships and build up tension. But it still feels very derivative of a lot of things. You've seen all these kinds of things before. The action is exciting and fun with some creative set pieces, a crazy car set up inside a parking garage, a crazy hallway fight when people are all hopped up on drugs and stuff like that, and this big library set piece. You have all these fun things. You throw in a little bit of heart, but it's still a lot more style over substance and character and themes. So in the end, Gunpowder Milkshake is a big bowl of fun, crazy, over-the-top kind of action and fun. But in the end, it's fun. That's the most important thing, and I had a fun time with it. They set up sequels. This is a cool group of characters. Little bit of interest in these characters, some really committed performances. So you could definitely have a bunch of these, and they will. And if this is successful on Netflix, they'll make an infinite amount of them. So there you go, because it's Netflix. But I really enjoyed Gunpowder Milkshake. It isn't anything particularly new, particularly fresh or interesting, but it has a lot of style, cool performances, and a lot of fun action. And in the end, is that what you're expecting from this movie? Very much may be. But those are my thoughts on Gunpowder Milkshake. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.